All right, what is going on, everybody? Back at it again, another week, another podcast. Here we are. This week we have our guest, Mark Heck, is with us. He is another one of the members of Feel Good, and we are glad to welcome him today. We're going to talk with him about his journey, a little bit about how music has affected him and his journey through music, and then we'll probably get into a little bit of the craziness that's happening in the world. But welcome, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah.
Stoked to be a
Thanks
part of
for-
this.
Thanks for being here, buddy. Glad to
Oh,
have
hell
you
yeah.
on.
Hell yeah. I love your guys' episodes you put out. So,
Ah,
I'm
I
all about
appreciate that.
Thanks, man.
hmm
Martinez says hi. I can't remember exactly who Martinez
Is
is.
that my boy Marty?
Could
What
be.
up, Marty? How we
How's it
doing?
going,
First one
Marty?
in. What's going on, Marty? What's going on, Marty? How are you doing today? All right. Well, Alex, I'll let you run with this one.
Oh shit, my cat's knocking stuff over.
Oh, hot start.
Good start. Good
Hot
start. So, Mark, tell me about your journey through music. How'd you get hooked up with the current band you're in, which is my brother and sister? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, man. I can go as deep as y'all want here, but to
Dude,
make
take it away.
simple-
Give us
Take
the
it away.
long and short of it.
All right. Well, basically, I've been playing music for a while, and I was jamming with a good buddy of mine that knew Mary years ago. His name's Jordan Morris. Very, very talented acoustic guitar player. We're kind of doing some side stuff. And I guess Mary had moved back here, from my understanding, to Omaha, and had hit him up. Was like, hey, we're trying to do a band thing, and you're a talented guitar player. Do you want to play with us? And he was in architecture school. So he's like, I'm loaded up right now. I have no time, but there's this super cool dude, Mark. Hit him up and, see if he vibes with y'all. And she hit me up, and I was super stoked. I was kind of in a weird place, like musically at the time. I was kind of just doing my own thing, not really playing with anyone. And I had written a song like a week before, and I sent her a quick track. It's actually going to be on our album coming up. It's called Deja Vu. It's going to be one of our only acoustic songs. Actually, our only acoustic song that we'll be putting out.
Nice.
But yeah, she didn't respond for like 2 days, so I'm like, oh, I suck. And she responded with like I gave her a brief description of what it was about. Being a musician, a lot of the stuff everything that you play is emotionally based, and so
Yeah.
I was like, hey, this is kind of where my head was at when I wrote this. This is what it's about. And Mary is a wizard with fucking lyrics, so in a matter of 2 days, she was able to perfectly paint this story of my emotions where I was at with that song, and she killed it. I showed up to Mac's old house with our old drummer Mikey. I remember he had this it wasn't even like a drummer's chair. It was like his grandma's like shower chair or something. I don't know if you've ever seen those things.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I was
know
like, what
exactly
the fuck am I
you're
walking?
talking about.
I was like, what am I fucking walking in on? But yeah, Mac played the keys, Mary sang, he was doing his thing on his drums, and we kind of quickly laid down some groundwork of one of our songs that's on our EP, Don't Be Scared, and it kind of just went off from there. But yeah, that's how it all started, really.
Nice. Are you self-taught on the guitar, or did you ever take lessons? Or first question, how long have you been playing guitar?
So I started when I was 14. My best friend, Brandon Tibbet, he's a really good guy. He got me into guitar. I remember I walked into this basement. I had bought a guitar and I had no idea what I was doing. I was literally just making noises on it. And my buddy was like, come to our band practice. And I walked down and saw this dude like nailing guitar. And I'm like, I need to put the work in. So from when I was about 15 years old to throughout high school, and then I put it down for probably honestly, 3 to 4 years. I was in like a party phase, and then I picked it back up and went from there. So probably like accumulatively like 9 years, but technically 15 years.
Gotcha. Are you self-taught then?
Yeah, completely self-taught.
Nice.
I was reading an article the other day on all the best guitarists throughout history, and like Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, like all of the best guitarists are all self-taught.
Right.
Yeah, Clapton.
Yeah,
And
Clapton. Yep.
That's kind of what Mary talked about when we had her on, because she had that guy that was, kind of classically trained and was playing guitar down at Mizzou, and she tried to jam with him, and he couldn't break out of that framework that he'd been in for so long. So it makes sense that the self taught guys are more free with how they play.
Well, I think it's you teach yourself to a limitation. You teach yourself to what you want to know enough to be able to kind of play and mold it. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's crazy, man. I've met several guitarists, great friends of mine that can shred. I know this one guy that can play Eddie Van Halen song behind his head, but he went through the whole classical training. And he told me, he's like, don't learn everything about the guitar or do these classical trainings, because you'll get bored. And I don't ever want to get to a place where I'm bored with what I'm doing. It's there's like something to it with like having a mystery of what I'm going to be playing next. Like I don't even know what's coming out. Sometimes it just happens and you're like, whoa, where did that come from? And it adds to the experience.
That's probably when your best work comes from,
Oh yeah, definitely.
When you're just in that space where you're just like you said, you don't even know what's coming next, and something comes out and you're like, oh, okay. And then you expand on it, and you're like, oh shit, I think I just wrote a chorus.
Oh yeah, exactly. And sometimes you get a framework out of that. Sometimes you're like, oh, this is an idea. Or sometimes it's like, holy shit, like this is like spot on. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
It's dope.
Nice, man. Mm-hmm. Ben, do you have any questions? I don't want to completely Beauregard this conversation.
No, you're good. I get that whole like getting bored with where you're at musically, because I was in band from middle school all the way through college. So I played trumpet and baritone and a few other bits and pieces. But by the time I got to college, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Right. Because the only time I had fun with it was marching band, because marching band was fun because you get to memorize the music and it's more fun stuff. The regular like symphonic band is just like, you're playing classical stuff like over and over and over, and I can't tell you the amount of times I played the same songs through the years, just one rendition after another, and I was just like, bro, this is not it. I had a lot of fun when I got to do jazz band, because it's a lot more freedom when you play jazz. But yeah, so after I got before I was even out of college, like I didn't go back to band like my last year or last semester, because I was like, I can't do it anymore. So yeah, I don't know. Recently, I've been kind of toying with the idea of getting back into it. But if I get back into it, I want to learn to play guitar, because I think when I was really little, if I remember right, I had started to learn, and then like we moved and sold the guitar or whatever. So I kind of want to get back into it a little bit. But if I do, I want to try and learn to play like guitar or something.
Yeah, I something that really helped me along my journey, at least, was just learning songs I loved, man. Like, to be honest, as I got older, I kind of found my groove too, of like my pocket of sound.
Right.
I got imputed into anyone that like knows my style, like pop punk, and there's a couple of bands in specific that really played like a key to how I play, honestly, and the chords I play. But yeah,
I think that's why I want to get back in. Like, I want to get into playing guitars, because I love, like, my favorite genres are like pop punk, like metalcore, that kind of stuff. Shit, so yeah, I want to learn to like play some of the songs I like love listening to.
Yeah, I went through a metal phase for quite a while, and then I just I went through a metal phase. I went through several guitars that I had that had different tones too. But when I went through my metal phase, I had a really cool PRS custom made guitar. It had like fat inlays instead of the dots that you see.
That's
it was
dope.
Really cool. I missed that guitar, but unfortunately I had to give it up at one point. But I'm a Fender guy now, so that's my groove.
That's what I've heard. I've heard Fenders are like just like the top of the line
Yeah.
guitars.
Something about the neck too. Just like it's smooth.
Yeah.
Mark, you mentioned earlier that you put down the guitar for a couple of years because you were in a party phase. Tell us about the party phase.
Oh man!
Don't think you're gonna get off scot-free. Like you can't just slide that guy in there and.
Right.
So you're coming out of what, high school, going into college at this point in your life?
Yeah, I was just going through some stuff, and
what kind of stuff?
I was hitting the bottle a little bit, but
what kind of stuff? This is an interview, Mark. What kind of stuff?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Alex is. You don't have to spill your guts.
Man.
I'm just saying.
Alex is gonna like grill you and everything like that, but you know, honestly, you share as much as you feel comfortable sharing.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to give us all the bloody gory details, but you know what, like unemployment or like life stuff or.
No, just life stuff, just like heartache and some kind of like I don't know, like going through an identity phase, like where do I sit in this world? You know, what is my purpose?
So you were going through
I just kind of was hitting the bottle a lot. A breakup and some other things, yeah, definitely.
Gotcha.
It kind of like, I guess that was like the breakup was like the last little rock before the
last little thing
slide kind of yeah, and so it just kind of I got into some stuff. I got into a little rave phase, doing some party stuff. I had fun with Molly and Lucy, if you know what I mean, and it just kind of distracted me from where I was at. You know what I mean? Like some people, I know some musicians that can do that stuff and can really, it doesn't distract them or anything. But for me, it just pulled me completely out of that mindset. I was just like, I'm here to get fucked up, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I literally didn't touch the guitar or anything during that whole phase.
That's a very good distraction if you're going through an identity phase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if your identity is tied to someone that you've been with for a long time. I went through a very similar type stage, not with necessarily all the drugs, but the bottle for sure. It's an easy distraction.
It is. It's available.
Yeah, it's available, and you don't have to think about all the other shit that's going on.
Yep.
But it can distract you from something that you're passionate about, and obviously something that you're good at, which is the guitar. So.
Oh, dude, yeah. And I mean, like when you kind of hit me up about this, you're talking about like my journey with like sobriety and stuff, and it's a journey I've like ventured down, not as far as I have this time, but I've tried to venture down before, and for me, the way I people is like my relationship with any of the substances, whether it be Molly or Lucy or alcohol or good old Mary Jane or whatever, like it just every time I'm like involved in those situations, all this like bad stuff starts piling up, or like my mind just gets to a bad place, and every time that I don't have it there, all this good stuff starts adding up, and my mind is in like a clear thinking, productive kind of pace. So that's just me personally. Doesn't mean that other people can't do that. So
no, it's different for everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, it's different for everybody. If you can do it, great. But I have a best friend who, like, addiction is in his blood, and all of his friends can go out and do whatever they want for a weekend, and when they show back up Monday morning, they're ready to go to work, and they don't feel like they need that stuff anymore. He's the opposite. He's like, hey, party's going. Like, we got to keep the party going. Like, next thing you know, it's Thursday, and he's on a bender, and he's getting ready to do it all over again.
Yeah.
And it's different for everybody. But how many months sober are you right now?
I just hit my 6th month on April 5th.
That's awesome, dude. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, feels good.
And you kind of touched on it earlier. I don't want to go back and make you answer the same question again, but that decision basically just came from a standpoint of, when I'm doing these things aren't going the way that I want them to, and when I stop doing these things, good things start happening. Is that basically the?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny. Like, I didn't come to that realization. Like, that's not why I like started taking that path. Like, I came to that realization like while I was sober. Why I took the path, I guess, was I just woke up one day. It was just kind of like all this stuff at once. I like woke up one day and, you know, I'm sitting there looking in the mirror. I'm like my heaviest I've ever been. I can see it in my face. I'm just like not there. It's just like I'm there, but I'm not, you know what I'm saying? And so I just kind of took on all these things at once, you know, like I'm going to be sober. I'm going to mention this stuff and you guys are going to make fun of me. Everyone always says it, but I went vegan and I do CrossFit, which is funny because those are the two things that people they're involved in, they don't shut the fuck up about. So I had to mention it. Obviously.
Right. I mean, I was there. I went through a CrossFit phase and I was like super gung-ho about it in college. I was like, if you guys aren't doing CrossFit, you're not shit. Like,
yeah, right, exactly. Especially some of the movements you do. It's crazy.
Yeah, some of them are unhealthy.
You're like the perfect meme. Like,
yeah.
Like sober, vegan, CrossFit. Let's go, bro. Like,
yeah. That's all I talk about. If I don't mention it, then something's wrong. No, I just kind of did all that at once. But also within doing that, I kind of took on this spiritual journey of mindfulness, and kind of found. I want to say like I'm full on Buddhist or anything like that, but you know, definitely like the practice of mindfulness and you know, taking some time every day to meditate or do yoga or do some sort of breath work. And in doing that, I kind of just like realized that whole thing that I had said prior, which is, okay, when I'm doing these other things, all these bad things are happening. But when I'm not, all these good things are happening. So what's the point of going back to it? You know, there's none. It's not serving me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So you said you're not a Buddhist, but that's kind of like the belief system that you would fall under, I guess, if you had to classify it.
Yeah, I like it because a lot of the Buddhist texts I've read, they're kind of, it's kind of like one of those. It's not a religion, I guess, is what I'm going to say. It's more of a practice than anything. Like a lot of the books or texts that I've read have talked about. There's Catholic Christian nuns that go to Buddhist workshops or camps or whatever you want to call them, and you know they practice Buddhist, you know, mindfulness meditation or whatever it is. Same with, I think one of the dudes that whose books I follow, his name's Lama Suri Das. He was originally Jewish when he started kind of diving into Buddhism and all that stuff, and now he's a Buddhist. But you know, he just kind of talks about how, like, takes in all those other religions and doesn't say they're wrong, you know, or anything like that. They just have a certain way of practicing things, and in that, like, I'm one that's open to it all, you know, like I believe Jesus was a person, you know, I believe there is a higher power, whether that's God, universe, or the source, or whatever you want to call it. So, yeah, so I wouldn't like proclaim myself a Buddhist, just someone that likes the practice of it.
Well, Buddhist practice, if you got into like the nitty gritty of the details of Christianity versus Buddhism, they'd start to differ themselves. But like in the general practice, they're very similar, which is, like you said, be mindful, take time every day to pray, meditate, whatever it is, be good to people, and put out good energy towards your fellow mankind. And at the end of the day, that's going to serve you best.
Right.
So,
and I think that's a standard theme throughout the majority, if not all, religions, is just to be good to people, be good to yourself, and then, you know, take that time to you know be mindful and you know, converse with whatever higher power it is that you believe in or whatever, and that kind of stuff. There's a lot of similarities between a lot of religions.
Oh yeah, and I just live off the belief that like it's impossible to go through life fully without, like, you know, doing something that kind of harms your life path, yourself, or like in some way offends someone else, you know what I mean? But as long as you're like doing your best to be aware with like what you're doing, that's all you can really do, you know.
And the be good to yourself aspect of that is something that gets lost sometimes, because like king of negative self-talk sitting right here,
Yeah.
but you can't be good to others if you're not being good to yourself.
Right.
And that's another common Christian and Buddhist mentality is, none of us are perfect. We're all going to sin, screw up, fuck up, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, that you don't strive to make mistakes, but you strive to be a better person after you make those mistakes. So,
Oh yeah. Something I was getting on one of my buddies this weekend is he tends to talk about his weight a lot. He's like, oh, I'm overweight, or like I'm the fat guy, or whatever. And I'm always like, I would let it go for a while, but I'm like, dude, like your body or your mind literally doesn't know like the difference. Like you can't just joke about that stuff. Like try to be kind to yourself, be gracious. Like it's cool to be like whatever, trying to make a joke about it, but I don't know. Words are more powerful than people think,
Right,
yeah.
for sure, and they'll definitely they definitely affect how you feel because it's I've been through kind of the same thing here and there, like looking in the mirror and going, wow, I don't like what I see, and then by consistently saying that over and over, it puts you in such a mindset where you're just so down on yourself that it just becomes unhealthy. So you got to
Yep.
take the time to like look yourself and recognize the small changes you're making that are helping you out, and focus more on the positive aspects about yourself to help you get into that good mindset, and then that'll foster more good things and help keep you in a good mood to where eventually maybe you're able to you know go to the gym if you so choose, and then be positive about that, and all that affects you like as a person as a whole.
Yep. It's that mind, body, soul, man. It's
Yeah,
all,
no, for sure, it's
you
all
got to keep it
connected.
aligned.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did joining Feel Good kind of give you like a spark or like a motivation to kind of get on this path of like maximum creativeness, or like, you know what I'm saying? Did that play a role in it whatsoever?
Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of funny. Like the journey with Feel Good's been interesting because I think Mary had mentioned in the podcast, we kind of went through different drummers and kind of finding. I mean, it took forever. I mean, it took forever to get our EP out, and
Oh yeah, I know.
it's almost like once it got released, it's like okay, now we can move on to bigger and better things. And not that the EP, I like the EP. I just think our best stuff is yet to come. I kind of thought about this earlier when I was thinking about getting on here. The EP to me is like it was these songs that we all had set, and especially like "Don't Be Scared." It was already set before it was completely written. Like this is how it's going to be, and it wasn't that it didn't flow, but it was a little bit stiff, and there was from my end there just wasn't quite a full effort in there yet. And then in the second track, 4 Novembers ago, that song got flipped upside down, and it was like, okay, well, we don't have to be stiff in the way that we're writing. We can flip these songs around to match everyone's involvement. And then Not the Same was like that on the back half of the song, but the album overall, that is, to answer your question, that's where the creativity is coming from. Mainly, but with those band changes, man, like I was also going through my own shit. Like I was still going through some addiction stuff and um, life stuff, moving around, figuring out friends, pandemic, all this stuff, But this album, I feel like, has had on my end, and from, I feel like I'm speaking for Mac and Mary, but and Tanner, all of our best efforts like put out there and just really like honed the fuck in. I'm excited for it to release, really.
I am too. Mary was kind enough to let us sample a few three of the tracks when she was on, and they're all awesome, and some of them she was like, these aren't done yet, these are still rough cuts, and I was like, shit, if these are rough cuts, I can't, I'm super excited for the full finished product. Yeah, I'm super stoked for it. Like it's good, it sounds super good, and I can tell through it that from the EP and the tracks that we got to listen to, how you guys have grown together as a band, and really put forth just some amazing music.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that.
Man, I can tell you, I've drank, not anymore, Mark drinks water now, but back when he was drinking, Mark and I have sat in a lot of garages, drinking a lot of beers, listening to those like rough demo tracks. And like as they slowly came along, I was like, yes, they're doing it.
Yeah.
They're doing it,
Yeah.
baby. They're really doing it. This sounds great. I can't wait for the album to be released.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it.
Oh yeah, and hats off to Tanner. I know Mary gave a shout out to him, but seriously, the dude not only records us and throws down bass or helps with forming the drums and all that stuff, but I mean he's encouraging while you're recording and working with the metronome or like, hey, like this is a good direction that you're doing with this riff, but what if it's written this way, or here's another idea, and we kind of bounce ideas off each other. This is my first time like writing two guitars. Like I was originally like a rhythm guitar player, so that EP was like my first time like writing a lead guitar as well, and so I think getting that confidence going is kind of coming out in this next album. So having him there though to like kind of jam some stuff out and be like, okay, I'm hitting here, I need to redirect, it's nice.
It's a process, man.
For sure.
Process.
Oh yeah.
If it was easy, everybody would do it, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right.
But,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm stoked. Mary actually, that was the big announcement I was gonna say, is Mary actually used her graphic design talents, and we got an album artwork design. I don't know if she's posted it yet. I'm really bad at following up our social media.
She did. I think she ended up posting it on. I don't know if she posted it on TikTok, but I did. I definitely
Instagram,
I saw it on Twitter, and I haven't seen it on Instagram yet, but I'm sure it's up there. But yeah, that artwork, that album artwork is dope. It looks super good.
Yeah, Roots Intertwined, which is funny because it's a lyric in one of our songs. And
there you go.
Like when she told us the lyric,
I'll pull it up later, Alex.
Okay.
I was like, wait, is that? I thought it was ropes intertwined, and then Mac was like, I thought it was tin twine and something. We were all like, we just laughed. It was like none of us knew what she was actually saying there. But once we heard it, we're like, that makes sense. Now I can hear roots intertwined. But yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's finally coming together. I'm stoked for it to release and get all of our music out there. That acoustic track too, where it all began, that's something that I've been sitting on for a while. We released it on Facebook forever ago, and it got like 1,000 some views within like 48 hours. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's gonna be big, man.
Oh
it's
yeah,
gonna be big. Can't wait to just go on tour with you guys and just sell merch.
Hey dude, that's the goal.
Yeah,
there it is. Right. We've met other merch guys. What's that Trash Boat that we hung out with?
Yeah, they stayed at my house. Their bassist peed on my rug.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he got. So backstory: Trash Boat's coming to Omaha. A promoter reaches out to Abby and was like, "Hey, I'm representing this band. They're playing at the Waiting Room tonight, which is like a 5-minute walk from my house to the venue. Do you know anybody that would house them?" And she responds, "My brother lives 5 minutes away. He can put them up for the night." So the bassist, who was, we palled around the entire night. He stole, well, he didn't steal. It was like a free, like lazy boy that was on the curb, and he like picked it up and hauled it like halfway to my house. I'm like, dude, you can't bring that to my house. Like, I don't want that on my property. So he just dropped it. Anyway, we're all out of beds that night. So he decides to sleep on my rug in my dining room, like next to the table. And they have to wake up early to go to Kansas City the next morning. And I'm like walking around barefoot, like there's beer cans everywhere. We were up way too late playing beer pong and stuff. And I walk over the rug and I'm like, and I'm barefoot.
Ew.
I'm like, this rug is wet.
Ew.
I'm like, oh, spill something? I'm like, nah, dude, this is where that guy was sleeping. And I like kind of like leaned over halfway, and I'm like, oh, that's pissed. I'm like, he fucking pissed on my. I had to throw the rug away. It's a $150 rug.
Sucks.
Thanks a lot, Trash Boat. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
I did not know that.
The name fits.
Yeah, no,
They're from
100%.
they're from the UK. Good guys, but that motherfucker still owes me a rug.
Yeah.
If you're out there,
man,
if you're out there, guy.
Well, his name wasn't Toby. Toby was the lead singer. Anyway,
drop
Anyway.
your
I don't
Venmo.
remember.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe I'll get $150.
I've still he left a sweater here. I've still got his sweater.
That was a trade off.
We'll do a fair trade. I'll give you your sweater
Yeah.
if you give me a rug.
You can have your sweater back. We're gonna go down to Big Lots or something. I'm gonna pick out a rug. You can get your sweater back.
There it is. That's awesome.
That's funny.
Is there anything else you wanted to talk about music-wise, Mark, before we start talking about culture stuff?
You know, I am super stoked for shows to go on again, and just because I'm sober, don't think Taz is going to be retired.
Dude,
so that's pretty much it.
We call Mark Taz at shows because Mark is like a shorter guy, and he'll disappear into the mosh or the crowd. And the only way you can tell where he is because there's just circles opening up, like spots. We call him Taz because it literally looks like Tasmanian devil, just like just going through the crowd, just fucking going crazy.
That's awesome.
Like, oh, I bet Mark's over there because there's like 6 feet in between those people.
That's awesome.
Right. It's great. Great. Mm-hmm.
We've done a lot of crowd surfing together too.
Oh yeah, I mean you fucked up your back a couple times doing that,
dude.
So.
Drop straight on the concrete.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back us into the crowd. I have figured out.
I got crowd surfed right over to a spot right where there was a mosh pit opening up. And I was actually face first and I could see it happening because I was almost back up to the front. And then just this spot opens up right where I'm headed. And I'm like, oh no, this is bad. And I kind of like go from face first to like try to turn and tuck into the fetal position and right down on. That was the trash boat night.
Oh God.
Because I left and they were packing everything up and I'm on the couch like in so much pain. I'm like, I don't know if I can stand up. And Mac and Mark are over me with the bottle of whiskey, like, don't be a pussy, like, come on, let's go. Yeah. And I'm like, bring me the aspirin, bring me the bottle of whiskey, not healthy, don't do what I do, kids. And I took some aspirin and I chugged, I bet half of that bottle, and I was like, all right, we're good.
I'm invincible.
Good. I'm hanging out with Trash Boat tonight, damn it. We're going to Benson. We're hanging out. I made it. And then I stepped in pee the next morning.
Well,
human pee.
Balance. Yeah. All things balanced.
Yeah. Good morning.
Oh, Jesus. All right.
Yes, Abby, he peed. Shout out. Hi, Abby.
Yeah, she's been here the whole time.
I
was gonna say let's
talk about the canceling sheet music.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a good segue transition. Since we were talking about music. So I actually did a little bit of digging while
yeah, Mark, you'll enjoy this.
After I sent that to you when I heard it. Okay, so what happened was I was scrolling through TikTok and there was these dudes had posted a clip, I guess, of their podcast. And they were like, dude, Oxford is canceling sheet music because they're saying it propagates the notion of like colonialism and the complicity and white supremacy because all this stuff happened during the period of slavery. Wow. And I was like, what the hell? So I was talking about it, and one of my mods from my stream actually, he's Canadian, and he was like, "That's actually not true," because we were gaming in the middle of the week, and I was like, "What? No way!" And he's like, "Yeah." He like went and looked it up because he was curious, and so he sent me an article from the Associated Press. So I have it pulled up. So the claim was that the UK's University of Oxford is considering removing sheet music from its music curriculum as part of sweeping changes intended to decolonize the program. The Associated Press kind of went in and did a little bit of digging and looking around, and they figured out that that's actually not what's happening.
Oh man, we got duped.
Yeah. So that's that thing we've been talking about is just immediate hot takes and knee-jerk reactions as somebody announces something or whatever. So what is actually happening though is Oxford University is adding new offerings to their music curriculum so that if you're going into that and you, I guess for whatever reason you're not comfortable with learning like about classical music during that time period, they'll have alternative education things for you. So it was a false claim that came out that they were ditching the sheet music as part of an overhaul to combat racism and white supremacy. It was just like we said, like knee jerk reactions about it. The article had reported that came out. It started in an article published by Britain's Daily Telegraph that got shared thousands of times because they went off, because news isn't news anymore. It's the first one out to post the most outrageous claim to get
Clicks.
the clicks and the views.
Yep.
So they shot off their thing, and then a Canadian outlet, the Post Millennial, put out their headline pretty much right after that article came out that said Oxford University may stop teaching sheet music because of its complicity in white supremacy. So that article reported that the document showed some faculty members had proposed reforms to address the music program's focus on white European culture. And then they just like ran with it. So they're not, what's happening is they're not taking out sheet music as a part of the study, but they're broadening their music program and their music study to include music from different eras, different genres, and stuff like that, so that it's like a little bit more of an inclusive music curriculum rather than just focusing solely on the classics from like Mozart and Beethoven.
They're not saying we're getting rid of sheet music because it has ties to white supremacy.
Yeah, they're not trying to they're not trying to like rewrite history on that part where it's like we're gonna rewrite history just because this happened during a period of slavery and white people suck, so we're not teaching it anymore. They're not doing that. They're adding in other things so that it's just a little bit more rounded music education.
Well, that's interesting for several reasons, but the two that come to mind, I was listening to this podcast yesterday, and what you're kind of saying about knee-jerk reactions and people just kind of trying to get clicks. One of the things this guy said, he's an older dude, and he was talking about just the way that we perceive news nowadays and how podcasts are replacing radio and like TV's getting replaced by YouTube, like all this stuff.
Right.
For like news sources. But he's like, it's crazy because you could have someone that's a legit credible source, but they only have 150, 200 followers. But then you can have some bullshit guy that just said he Googled something and he's got 2 million followers and everyone's gonna listen to him and think that's reality. That's what's happening.
Right.
And it's crazy.
No, it is. Which here comes the stick and the dead horse is over here and I'm going to beat the hell out of it again. But like, this is like, that's
Welcome
why.
to the podcast,
welcome to the
folks.
podcast. Wham! We're hitting this horse again. That's part of the reason Alex and I started this whole thing is like, we're not the guy with 2 million followers that's putting out clickbait. We're the other guy with not that big of a following that's trying to like get down and figure out what the truth of the stuff is and that kind of mess.
Well, it's just like the Georgia voting laws, which is backfiring on them backfiring on the MLB right now.
Right.
Because Georgia, Atlanta is a predominantly black city. You're now taking the All-Star game to Colorado, which is not there's black people in the city, obviously.
But it's predominantly
as predominantly black as Georgia is, Atlanta is. And now you're hurting the very people that you're striving to get equal protection for, which, by the way, I've looked through the voting laws. I listened to Dan Crenshaw talk about it on Rogan's podcast. I can't find anything that would even remotely tie it to a Jim Crow type situation. Like, it's completely asinine to say that.
Right.
The only argument is that it's harder for minority groups to get IDs than it is white people. Which, to me, if I was a minority, I would think, you think I'm not smart enough to go get a simple ID?
Yeah.
And then the back argument is, well, they can't afford it, which, again, is kind of racist, but they're giving them away for free. So, and New Jersey has the same voting ID requirements that Georgia has, and nobody has called that Jim Crow 2.0.
Yeah, because Jersey's a friggin' blue state, so
they had a senator on. I think it was a senator from a particular state. I was trying to remember the state before. It might have been New Jersey, where they put the same voting ID laws in, And then they kind of got a similar backlash, but it didn't get as much media attention. And they said, okay, that's fine. If you don't have an ID and you don't have transportation, you don't have a way to get to the DMV to get your free ID, we will come pick you up and we'll take you there. And out of like the 2 million people in the city, 25 of them capitalized on that opportunity.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
25.
Yeah,
It's not even a fraction.
Yeah, it's dumb. It's like there's nothing inherently racist about wanting people to get an ID, and there's nothing inherently racist or subversive in any way in the ID acquiring process. You like it's easy. If you don't have a car, it's fine. Just go to the DMV. You'll get a state ID. They'll give you an ID.
Is going to the casino racist? Is
No.
buying alcohol racist?
Well,
Is buying cigarettes,
give it a couple months. Give it a couple months.
That's crazy. Man. Like,
I'm
all for equality. I hope everybody knows that at this point in time. But to call this Jim Crow 2.0 and to take money away from the people of Atlanta who would have been profiting Airbnbs, hotels, bars, restaurants.
If you really want to get into it, even black-owned businesses down there, restaurants, bars, restaurants,
Airbnbs,
clothing stores, all that kind of stuff. You just took food out of the mouths of so many millions or thousands of people in that city because you just went off of this, again, knee-jerk reaction that this was like the most racist thing to happen since segregation. And it's just not true. You have to have an ID for literally everything else in life. Why does having an ID to be able to go vote any different?
That's wild. That's wild.
It's just asinine. And then all the big companies that were down there, Coca-Cola, Delta, who else was down there? I know those are the big two. Shit, I don't remember off the top of my head, but like there's major corporations that are like pulling out and doing other, like, not supporting other things in that area because of this, because like we're gonna take a stand, and it's like, well, you're taking a stand, but your stand is hurting the job market.
You think
in
this
Georgia
is racism? Where are you with your buddies in China that are rounding up people and putting them into re-education camps right now?
Right.
Where you really care about people that much? Like, okay, that's fine. If you disagree with the voting laws, that's your right as a company. Whatever. Don't agree with it. But where are you in China right now?
Yeah, where's your outcry of the treatment of the Uyghur Muslims in the far western regions of China that are literally getting put in concentration camps and having to do forced labor for inhumane hours a day, getting tortured, females getting forcibly sterilized, and then raped, according to reports of people that have escaped those camps. Like torture, rape, and all that is just the norm in those camps. It's like, where's your outcry to this? But there's no outcry because China is funneling astronomical amounts of funds into these companies.
Have you heard about that at all, Mark? Sorry.
I was just gonna add. No, you're good. I'm listening, trying to take it all in. I was gonna ask. I'm ill-informed here. So what is going on? Why did the MLB switch from Georgia to the All-Star game from Georgia to Colorado?
What happened is Georgia...
Let you cover the Uyghur thing, because you know the Uyghur thing better than I do.
Okay.
And I know the MLB thing very well.
Sure. Yeah.
My heart. They're all about baseball.
So, yeah. The MLB decided to pull the All-Star game from Atlanta, Georgia, move it to Denver, Colorado, so from the Braves to the Rockies. In response to Georgia voting laws that were enacted, which the long and short of it is you have to have a government-issued ID. It doesn't have to be a driver's license necessarily. It just has to be a government-issued ID, which you need to get on planes or buy cigarettes or to get into a casino, whatever the case may be. Most people have IDs. But the outcry from some of the Democratic Party is that these new laws, well, Joe Biden himself said it's Jim Crow 2.0, which in itself is very, like, those are powerful words.
Powerful words that...
And And at the same time, you're kind of diminishing the Jim Crow laws, which was the very definition of racism. You know, you're saying that you're restricting voting for minority voters, and from what I've gathered, I cannot find a single thing in there that would suggest that.
No, we went through a couple podcasts ago and like looked. I looked at the voting laws that came into place, and we sat here and went through it for like 10 minutes, and no, in no way, shape, or form did any of the verbiage at all lead to any, like to suggest that was what was going on. They were just like, look, you're gonna need an ID to vote. They're gonna be putting up. They'll put up ballot boxes in counties. For people to go drop their ballot off. They changed the amount of time. They changed the time for absentee voting and when you got to turn your ballot in for that and that kind of stuff to try and help mitigate, ballots rolling in after, the election's over, after that whole fiasco this past election. And that kind of stuff. And people are, saying, oh, they're limiting the way you can turn your ballots in and stuff. And it's like, no, they just base the ballot boxes off of population in counties. So if you live in a county with a larger population, there's going to be more ballot boxes to facilitate that amount of people being able to drop their ballots off. And if you live, say, in a rural county out in the backwoods of Georgia, you might not have a multitude of ballot boxes. But, like I said in that podcast, counties don't take 3 hours to drive across. Counties are not very big. You can take the 10, 20, 40-minute drive, go drop your ballot off. Because you probably at some point just schedule it around, your errands you might have to run at that end of the county or whatever. They're making it a bigger deal than it really is.
Or you show up on voting day and you vote. You can do that too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways you could do it. And there was a cry for the All-Star game to get pulled out in response to this, to punish
it's
Georgia.
Right.
Yeah, and then Rob Manfred, the MLB commissioner, responded and said, okay, we'll move the All-Star game from Atlanta to Colorado. And now a lot of the Democrats are like, well, wait, shit. Like, now we're hurting the people in Atlanta, the same people we're trying to protect, but this like woke movement of everybody's got to respond so they're not racist. You can't have these knee-jerk reactions. You have to.
It's a mess.
Yeah, no, they're causing more problems than they're trying to help.
Yeah.
And in the process of trying to be a friend to the people they wanted to help, they ended up hurting them.
And
well,
like
that's
you
just
said,
our government right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. They're just trying to follow the trend, and they can't keep up.
And like you said,
people in office are too old.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola, Delta, there's a handful of companies that are down there right now that are directly tied to major Chinese corporations who are engaging in this rounding up of the Uyghurs.
Yeah, Mark, I don't know if you've seen anything on that at all.
No.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm not surprised because it's not getting all that much coverage, strangely. So basically what happened is there's I gotta remember the name. I think it's like the Zhejiang province. It's out in the far, well, I guess you would call it the eastern part of China, the part of China that's closest to the Middle East. It's kind of like that north part way out there. There's a population of people called the Uyghurs. They're Uyghur Muslims, and they've been out there for generations. And at one point, they did try to do what Taiwan was successfully able to do, and I think Nepal has tried to do before, and separate themselves from China and be their own independent like country or area, and China squashed that.
I was gonna say there's no way they let that fly.
Right. So they've squashed that, and now what they're doing is they're basically trying. They're calling them something along the lines of like re-education camps. Yeah, but they're basically what they're doing is
that's what they're titled.
Yeah, they're just rounding up all of this ethnicity, this group of people that live out there that have just been living their lives, and they're trying to forcibly integrate them into Chinese culture and Chinese government and indoctrination and that kind of stuff. And because the Chinese government has branded them some sort of terrorists, which that only stemmed from the fact that when China tried to push out there and subdue these people, they said no and fought back. So now they're out there and they're putting them in these re-education camps, which are essentially just forced labor work camps. And they're doing there's a plethora of human rights violations that are going on with these people. And some of the Uyghurs that have gotten out of that situation and made reports, to people have said that, it's basically forced labor for inhumane hours a day. They're not really they're not re-educating them. They're forcibly sterilizing the female population so that they, obviously so that they can't produce anymore.
This all
And
sounds really familiar. Do you guys remember there was a guy named Hitler? I think Adolf Hitler was his name. And he
Yeah.
said he just wanted to round up a specific people of a specific religion
Re-educate.
and
yeah,
re-educate, and then he ended up putting them into gas chambers and sterilizing them, and they
yep.
were concentration camps.
And after that happened,
Kind of sounds very similar.
after that happened,
Very, very similar.
the world said never again, and yet here we are. But there's been nothing being done about it. And
History repeats itself.
yep,
I guess.
and like we were talking about, these companies that are have ties to China they're having outcry about the stuff happening in Georgia, but they've not once made a statement about the stuff that's happening in China because they're worried that if they do that, and the NBA,
Self-interest.
yeah, self-interest. The NBA went through this too last year or the year before when all this stuff first came to light. They were like, nope, not our problem, because China funnels so much money into to the NBA, to Coca-Cola's got big tie. All big corporations have big ties in China because that's where all the work gets outsourced to, and all the money comes from. So they don't want to. It's going to hurt their bottom line to say anything about it, and it's so backwards.
It's interesting. Big companies, like how they operate things, is they want to make you think. I feel like it's the majority of big companies that they care about issues, but they don't. If you have a chance, watch. What is that just released on Netflix? Seaspiracy.
Seaspiracy. I kind of touched on that because they messed up with that name. They could have gone Conspiracy, and it would have been so much better. But
Oh wow! You know what? You should have been the guy on that team.
Anyway,
So it's along that line. Like they have these cans of tuna or salmon that they mark with this symbol that's supposed to be like, hey, when we use these fishing nets, we make sure that we don't have what's called bycatches, which is like killing a bunch of whales and dolphins,
Yeah.
and literally just dumping them back in the ocean dead. But when they go to these corporations and they talk about it, they're like super secretive about it, and they come to find out that none of that label that they have on there is true. It's just a label.
right.
They're still playing a major part in the killings of all these ecosystems. And you kind of, I don't want to give away the whole thing, but you come to find out, man, like the big twist in it all is that plastic is like 4% of the ocean's pollution problem, and 49% of it is fishing nets from these big corporations.
Yep, and
they try to bury it.
Yep, and I've
Yeah.
said it before, and I don't remember who mentioned it to me, but the fishing industry is one of the, if not the biggest contributor to ocean pollution. But let's stop
It is the
using
biggest.
plastic straws because sea turtles.
Yeah, they said plastic straws was 0.03% of the pollution in the ocean.
Right, but we don't hear about
So there you go.
we don't hear about the
You
big
can
corporations.
Feel good. You can feel good about going to a restaurant that doesn't have plastic straws.
Yeah,
That's
you
something
get-
you can feel good about.
You get no straw, you get a disposable, biodegradable paper straw, and you're
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
did my part, and you're like, actually, no.
Well, yeah, I mean, great. You didn't, you contributed to a very small percentage of what the actual issue is. But
Yeah.
it comes down to all these guys, they're full of shit, dude. They're all full
Oh
of
yeah.
shit. They care about one
100%.
thing and one thing only, and that's making money.
Yep.
The guy who founded Goodwill, genius, millionaire. I'm going to take your stuff and I'm going to turn around and sell it. And I'm just going to name the company Goodwill, because who doesn't want to donate to Goodwill?
Right.
I want to be a good person and donate to Goodwill, and I'll just profit off of all of it. Great.
He called it a nonprofit when it began.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
exactly. I'm
nonprofit
pretty
that
sure-
funneled millions of dollars into his pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, not nonprofit for his employees. Profit
It's
for
all
him.
the same shit. Pepsi. Let's put a Kardashian up there with a Pepsi, and let's hand it to a cop, and that'll make everybody feel good about
Yeah.
drinking.
Well, and
Pepsi.
the same
They don't
thing,
give a
Mark, you were
shit.
saying about labels and how corporations, it's the same thing with corporations when Pride Month comes along. They all put up the LGBTQ flag, like, we're here for you, we're here for you. And it's like, no, it's just a marketing ploy so you make more money. Same when the Black Lives Matter stuff started, all the companies put out, new logos with that that flag or that imagery on it, and they were like, we're here for you, and meanwhile they're like, actually give us all of your money.
Yeah, it's a scary place that I feel like social media is great. It's awesome. We can formulate our own things and do podcasts and stuff like that, but they try to use it against you to kind of program and do these things where they can fly under the radar like it's nothing.
100%. Coke, I'm not ignoring you, man. We just been on the thing, but yeah, you've made some good points in there, dude. But your point you just put up, what's funny about the Atlanta thing is that Coca-Cola, Delta, TNT, that was the other one I couldn't think of. They're all going to be fine because if they pull out whatever, they can just set up shop somewhere else and they'll be a-okay. But like we said, the small businesses, which we mentioned, are gonna get hurt, and some of them might even have to shut down because there's a lot of companies, and I know it's the same in Omaha when the College World Series rolls through, that they depend on big events like that for a large majority of their profit and their gains for the year, and when that gets pulled, they really, really struggle.
It was 16 million last year, 16.5, I think, in just ticket sales. That doesn't take in hotels, restaurants. That's just the money that was going to be spent at the ballpark. Again, Airbnbs, little bar and grills down the street from those Airbnbs where people go instead of going downtown. When we were in Scottsdale, we did that a couple times. Like, hey, what's close? Like, we don't want to go downtown. Let's find a little mom and pop restaurant and go eat there. Have a beer.
Yep.
You're hurting so much of the Black community and just the general community in Atlanta, which again is predominantly Black, in the way of trying to say, hey, we have to step in and help you because we're the big guys and you can't do it on your own.
Right.
Well, great. Now you just hurt the same community you were striving to help.
Yep. And I'll say it again, like I say all the time, because I just go to worst case scenario, but big businesses doing things like this, worst case scenarios, you get closer and closer to those movies that came out in the 80s where governments don't run the world anymore. Big corporations have taken over and they're the governing entities. And it's eerily similar, and it's super weird to just see that those steps are being taken closer to that reality more and more every day.
And then the second that happens, your privacy's gone.
Yep.
Goodbye.
Yep. 100%. You get big brother comes in, and now you have a government sanctioned TV in your house, cameras all over the place. You have no freedom to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
You're going off you're going full Orwell.
Yes, sir.
Orwell once. You're going full Orwell.
I'm just saying.
There was in this podcast I listened to yesterday. I'm gonna totally butcher this, but oh well. This guy had mentioned he was part of this team that was talking about how to ethically go about capitalism and economics to benefit America, but not just America, the world. And there's a quote that someone had come up with. It was like in the year is 2030. You have no privacy, you have no responsibility, and what a utopia we live in, or something like that. And after he said that quote, it's like, sounds like a dystopia because you have no privacy.
Right.
Yeah, you have no responsibility. You might be getting money or whatever's going on there. Things are automated or whatever it might be, but it's like, what's the price you're paying? No privacy? Like, no, that's not the way that I want things to go.
Right. Give up your privacy, and then people friends just start disappearing, and you never hear from them again.
No. Yep.
And you're like, what happened to Fred down the road? And turns out Fred said something in the privacy of his own home the government didn't like, and bye-bye Fred.
Yep. It's just crazy. It takes away way too many rights. I don't know. It's interesting.
I think
It's
we're a
crazy.
long way from that, but I think the
Oh
next
yeah, definitely.
I think the next thing that will change our culture and society most drastically. Did you see that monkey playing Pong using
Yep.
Neuralink?
Yep. I saw
He's
that.
playing the old Atari game. It's Pong, right?
So what they did is, and I watched the whole thing and actually read a decent amount about it just because I was like curious. So watch Wally, exactly, Cook,
Yes, amen.
exactly.
Yes,
Um,
it's a great movie.
so what Elon Musk is trying to do is set up this thing called Neuralink, where you get a chip implanted in your brain and it just links with basically everything. They're in the early stages of it now. So they put it in a prototype version, basically, of it in a chimpanzee. And so the chimpanzee has this metal tube in his mouth, and every time he does something right on the screen with the game, it started with him moving a cursor into a highlighted box on a grid of boxes. So he would get, banana smoothie to his mouth. And so he was doing it with his, moving the cursor with a little joystick on the side. So then what they did is they unplugged the joystick and turned on the Neuralink in his head, and he was still able to move the cursor around. He had his hand on the joystick and was moving the joystick, but the Neuralink was transmitting the direction that was supposed to move. And then from there, they moved into him playing Pong. And so they
Wow.
basically taught this monkey how to, like this chimpanzee, how to do it with the Neuralink. My thing with Neuralink is I'm a little wary of it. Like I'm not super keen on somebody putting a fucking chip in my brain that's linked to literally everything, like social media,
Yeah.
music. Like Elon saying like, yeah, you'll be able to just stream music straight to your brain, and I'm like, okay.
Well, nobody's keen on it, but what's going to happen is you're going to apply for a job, and then the guy you're applying against has Neuralink. And instead of you sitting and saying, okay, how do I program blah, 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 and sitting on YouTube trying to figure it out,
Homeboy's
he's
over there
gonna
just
say,
brain
how do
powering
I
it.
do this? And it's going to download. He's going to say, oh, bloop, 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 and he's going to do it. And you're going to be like, shit, I got to get Neuralink now
Yep.
because I can't work with competing against these guys. That's how it happens.
Exactly.
How it
And
always
then
happens.
well, and then worst case scenario, what happens if that whole system gets hacked, and then who knows what happens from there?
Dude.
Like that's something I
Mind
don't want to think of.
control.
Yeah, mind control. I don't want to think about it. Like I'm not. No, thank you. No, no, ma'am. No ham. No turkey. No salami. I do not want Neuralink in my head.
Rogan's had a couple guys on this week talking about quantum mechanics, and quantum mechanics blows my little pea-sized brain into a million
It's
pieces.
just wild.
But a lot of it is like AI also, and getting to the point where like AI has a consciousness, and we're getting to the point where AI can develop like remorse within its actions, and that you want to talk about scared the shit out of me. I'm like,
Here comes iRobot.
AI computer
Yeah.
will blow
Yeah,
my head
bust
off
out
and be
Will
like,
Smith.
"Ah, man, Alex wasn't really a threat. Shit, now I have remorse, but it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm a robot. I'm gonna move on."
Yeah, like now we're gonna have to call Will Smith out of like retirement or something to reprise
know,
all of his
dude.
movie roles. Yeah, no, there was one thing with that I saw not too long ago. It was either Facebook, I think it was Twitter, some Twitter AI that they had developed, or some company had developed, and literally the world taught the AI through interacting with it on Twitter racism and just like how to be an asshole, basically. And so they had to shut it down. So like that's like it's like literally the thing went from like tweeting out like, hey, I'm this whatever and like super happy to meet you, to basically like all of this like heinous racist shit. And they were like, okay, we're gonna shut that down. So it's like AI
Did
is
you
like
ever-
it's kind of cool and all to like think about, but it's also very susceptible to a lot of different things.
Did you ever watch
Well,
Silicon Valley? Either of you
Yes.
two?
I have
Yes.
not.
Did you watch it to the end?
I did not watch it. I watched it like on and off.
Okay. Spoiler alert. I don't think anybody on here is going to get completely spoiled. If you want to watch Silicon Valley, mute this for the next 30 seconds. But basically what they do by the end, they're working on a decentralized internet. So an internet that's like kind of like what DuckDuckGo is right now, but it's an internet in the sense that everyone has it and you don't have to pay like a CenturyLink or Cox Communications, whatever. But they create it to be too powerful where it like starts auto correcting text and stuff like that. And it's basically always learning from itself. And it got too powerful, it got too good. So they had to pull the plug on it. And they had this like million idea, decentralized internet, that they basically had to walk away from and like destroy because it was going to go against the very thing that they were striving to create.
Yeah.
So, yeah. If you get it too
That's
powerful,
ultimate.
if you get it too powerful, man, hate to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but you gotta be careful with that shit, bro.
Well, that's ultimately like technology. Like, how far can we take it? I
Right.
mean, what 2009 was when I got my first iPhone, and here we are, like 12 years later, and it's like that's the standard.
Right.
Crazy.
25
Nuts.
years ago, or however long it was, when Bill Gates was dancing up on that stage like a total dweeb, you know, with the first Apple computer. If you'd have told those guys, you know, well, no, it would have, yeah, about 25 years ago.
I was just cringing at the fact you said Bill Gates and Apple in the same sentence, like he invented it.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Microsoft,
know.
whatever. The first computer. Sorry, whatever.
Rip Steve Jobs.
Yeah, Steve Jobs. If you'd have told those guys, like, yeah, that same computer you just built will have basically something more powerful in our pockets that we'll carry around and we'll make phone calls on, they'd have been like, get the fuck out of here. You're
Yeah.
crazy. No chance.
It's that you got wireless headphones, you know, AirPods,
Yeah.
keep that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, the watch, everything, it's just
Mhm.
crazy.
My watch is
Crazy
charging
times.
right now.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Pay, I can go to the store and pay with that thing. Just
Yep. Boop.
Yeah, just
see
scan
you
it.
later.
It's insane. Well, what else you got, Alex?
I was gonna say we're at the hour mark, so we can turn it over to chat if they got any looming
Yeah.
questions. Anything else?
It's a
they
good
want us to
call.
talk about? I
Chat.
felt like there was something else. Oh, Prince, whatever his
Oh,
name
Prince
is.
Philip finally
Died.
kicked the can.
I don't care at all, but
Not
that
really
happened.
too worried about it.
There's been these memes going around. The one I liked was because Mortal Kombat's coming up.
Right.
It's like you guys play the old game, Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I'm
They
not
had,
good
like,
at it, but yeah.
They had the totem pole as you like go. And it's
Yeah.
it's like Betty White and all these like old fucks that are like dead, and she's just like climbing. She just passed like Prince Philip or whatever. I'm like, wow.
That's
Hang
hilarious,
on, Betty.
dude.
Hang
Yeah,
on.
he got overshadowed by DMX dying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, same time.
Yeah, DMX went into a coma, and then a week later, the family said, "We're gonna pull it.
We're done.
We're
Yeah.
done."
You know what's crazy? Another podcast I was listening to was talking about this, and it kind of irritated me too. Like all these like people, like celebrities that knew him, like use it as like fluff to be like, "Oh, it's so sad he killed himself." But like what this guy talks about, because he knew DMX. He had like met him like 5 years ago or something, and he knew who his inner circle was, and all these people that are crying about it, but no one reached out
Yeah.
to try to help him. No one tried. He was in addiction for 25 plus years, 25 years, and you're going to sit there and post a video of you crying on the internet, but then you didn't make an effort. Like, that's just fluff material. And
Yeah, it's
bullshit.
just shit to make them feel good and increase their clout.
Yeah.
It sucks. Like that's why when like celebrities like that die and other people are like, "Oh, this is so sad," blah blah blah, and they're like celebrities or people that knew him. And it's like I don't care what you have to say because like you said,
Yeah.
you didn't do anything to reach out and try and get that guy help or even
Right.
care about him.
Yeah. It's nuts.
Yeah.
All about the influence.
Probably
Indeed.
even profit off of his addiction.
So yeah, they probably used him and I don't know.
Hey,
It
he writes good music when he's on that, man. Leave him alone.
Yeah. Well, so did Mac Miller. Nobody reached out to him either.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rip Mac Miller. He was a good one.
Yeah, dude. That one hit me. I don't normally, this is a tangent a little bit, but I don't really, it doesn't affect me that much when celebrities die, but when I found out that Mac died, I was like, damn.
Mac and Kobe
Yeah.
Bryant. Kobe Bryant oddly hit me. I did not like him growing up, and then when it happened, I was just like uncontrollably sobbing. But yeah, it was weird. But Mac Miller, dude, I met him at one of my old companies, a company event, and he was pretty chill,
Yeah, he seemed
He's
like
a
a
good
pretty
dude.
chill dude.
down to earth.
Yeah. Yeah, that one was sad. Well, chat, if you guys, I'll give you a couple more minutes. I know there's a little bit of a delay, but if you guys don't have anything else for us, if you have any questions for us, you had any questions for Mark, let us know. I'll give you guys a few seconds here to rack your brains and go from there.
Is April 20 still the the album release date, Mark?
April 20th?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
No,
That's what Mary said last time, right?
the announcement that I
No.
saw was like it's coming in the summer. It wasn't set date
In
Oh,
this
yet, but
in in the summer, we just last practice. We meet up once a week. We're gonna try to ramp that up here, but um, we just laid out like, hey, these are the songs that we want on there. It's gonna be 8 songs, um, which is awesome. And
maybe
what's
she
crazy is we even have more songs in our pocket.
right,
So
ready to go.
there's
Yeah.
more to come after that. But yeah, no,
maybe
not
she
April
said
20th.
maybe she said April 20th. One of the songs will drop off the album.
That would make sense.
That makes sense
Yeah.
because she did say be on the lookout to through the coming months for some single releases. So
But even then, we have to get the distribution right.
yeah,
It takes about a month. So I'd say April 20th will be in that stage of where Tanner sends that to the distribution. It's called DistroKid or something, and
Gotcha.
we'll get the rights back in like a month after and drop it. So
Coke. The people that are in Feel Good, it's Mary.
I lose you guys.
No, you're good. Your video is frozen, but we can still hear you. Oh, there it went. It's Mary, Mac, Mark, who we're talking with now, and Tanner, who's their pretty much all around guy, like producer, drums, bass, all sorts of stuff. He does a lot of shit.
Sorry, I lost you for a second.
No, you're all good, bro.
Mac plays like keys and a little bit of bass. Is that right?
No, that Tanner throws down the bass. I will say Mac, not the song, not the same on our EP originated from something that Mac wrote on the bass. We transcribed it to guitar.
Okay, gotcha. And then
That's a writing process.
Yeah, I
Writing
bet.
with Mac is like it's crazy taking a song that's just piano and then being like, okay, well now I have to make this full band. And every time I sit there in front of my or I'm just at home or wherever, I'm like, how am I going to do this? And every time I do it, Max says I hit it on the head, but it's crazy. Some of his songs, he has like 8 different chords too, and I'm like, fuck. but it's always a good time coming up. It's a challenge. It's challenging.
Yeah.
Mac's kind of like a mad scientist when it comes to writing music. He's just like doing his own thing, and then has to bring everybody else in and be like, all right, here's the vision. Let's go this direction.
Right. It is crazy though. Like I hear him like whenever I come to practice and I instantly hear something. It's like that's Mac's piano. Like he has a certain chords and sounds he goes off of, which that's same for me with like guitar. There's like a certain like these chords and scales that I always hit. It's like I used to get down about it, but I'm like every band has that one sound,
Yeah.
that you kind of follow and stick to. So.
There's a song on the radio right now that like the chorus sounds exactly. It's almost like a carnival type theme to it. And the chorus is like keys, and it sounds almost exactly like what something Mac wrote long time ago. He used to play it at the house all the time on our piano. And I sent it to him the other day. I'm like, okay, why does this sound exactly like what you wrote? He's like, yeah, no, it sounds pretty similar. Yeah, somebody fucking stole it. Crooks, all
of them. Yep. Well, Marcus, I appreciate you telling us to keep up the great work. I love you, bro. Yeah, if you guys don't have anything else for us, we'll wrap it up. I'll show you guys. This is the album artwork for Feel Good's album that's releasing at sometime this summer. But also be on the lookout for the singles that are dropping. You can. So here's the album artwork for it. It's gonna be called Roots Intertwined, and my great friend and Alex's sister, Mary, who's also the lead singer for this band, graphic designed this because that's also what she does. Multi-talented, multi-faceted individual. This is their Instagram, Feel Good Band, NE. Guys, go give them a follow there. Also on Twitter and TikTok. This link in the bottom of the bio here will take you to where you can listen to their EP, which is out. And then I'm sure that when the singles drop, they will be all on those streaming services as well. So definitely go give them a follow. Mark, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out and talking with us, man. It was a good talk. I enjoyed talking to you. It was good to meet you. And yeah, dude, I'm stoked for this album.
Well, yeah, I appreciate just coming on here. I've been listening to you guys the last couple episodes, so
It's awesome.
I listened to the first episode actually.
Hell yeah, appreciate
you. Yeah, of course.
Day one, OG baby.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
All right, chat. If you guys don't have anything else for us, we're gonna get out of here. For our YouTube listeners, this will be out within the next few days. Appreciate you guys doing good on that. We're up to like 31 subscribers on YouTube, so we're getting there. Appreciate all the love and support you guys are giving there. You know, make sure to share that with your friends and family and all that good stuff. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, all that good jazz. Another big announcement, which I found out the other day, Alex, I didn't tell you about this yet. This channel on Twitch is eligible for the Twitch affiliate program, so I'm going to be working on that here in the next week or something. Got a little bit of logistical stuff to do with that, but
Sponsors.
we'll be able to start earning a little bit of cash here and there, which we'll then turn around and throw back into.
This episode is brought to you by ExpressVPN.
Right. No, we'll start. Doing that.
Don't get sponsored by Coke.
Right. Exactly. So just a heads up for you guys. I think one thing that I am gonna do. It's a cool little feature that I have on my stuff is I'll set it up to where you guys can are able to cheer bits, which is Twitch's little like currency. And what'll happen with that is if you guys have a question or something really pressing that you want us to know or hear anything, you guys will be able to cheer those bits. And I'm not going to make it like exorbitant or anything like that, but it'll come through on text to speech and I'll be able to hear it in my headset, and then the live stream will be able to hear it as well. So if there's something super pressing and for some reason Alex and I are just like deep down a rabbit hole and not looking at the chat.
No, it doesn't sound like us, dude.
Dude, not at all. I'll be able to hear it and we can get to it. So it's just, there's some stuff coming up like that. You guys will be able to subscribe and do all that kind of stuff. But like we've said, we're not in it for the money. We're just here to find the truth and disseminate the truth and the facts that we come up on. But anyway, without further ado, that's it for this week. You guys have a safe week. Be good to each other. Be kind. Like Mark, mentioned earlier, dude, take some time during this week every day to take a little bit of time for yourself. Be mindful, however you want to do it, meditation, breathing exercises, whatever. It definitely helps with your mentals. And other than that, again, appreciate Mark coming on, and we will see you guys in the next one next week. Same place, same time. All right. Peace.
Thanks, Mark. Love you, buddy.
You guys too. Thank you.